Good evening and welcome back to Crossfire. It's by-election special on Crossfire tonight with my guest David Makali and Washington Makadingo. They are political strategists. We're also keeping an eye on what's happening on the ground. And let's take you to those provisional results coming from London Ward. That's a ward in Nakuru West constituency in the larger Nakuru County. And the UDA candidate Anthony Nzuki, 980 votes so counted for in his favor, and Francis Njoroge of Jubilee 632, this being 17 polling centers counted so far out of 29. So clearly that one, by the time perhaps we're wrapping up the show this evening, we should be able to have a clear picture of what's going to be the way forward and as far as leadership there. And there's Bernard Maina, who has 311 votes counted so far. Alex Maina as well, 115. So earlier in the day, and even yesterday and in the days leading up to that London ward by-election, there has been quite some heightened political activities in that region. And this, as we were saying earlier, is pretty much UDA linked and associated to the deputy president, so looking to flex his muscles. You've heard from my guest this evening, just painting the picture of what this really could be all about in the picture of 2022 succession politics, as well as Jubilee that had the seat before seeking to defend it. But clearly this may be going the deputy president's direction. We'll keep an eye on that. Matungu, you have Peter Nabulindo, I beg your pardon, ANC 408 votes, and David Were of ODM 795. One of you had prophesied, or rather indicated, it's going the ODM way.
No, that was him. I'm pretty sure it's going in way.
You think this? Okay, so this is what, 7? Yeah, it's early days, way early days.
No, but I think the people on the ground must be having
they know
the
results
already.
Yeah, like they have a feeling of how it will go.
I think IBC is just not
they're just not
releasing
submitting results
quickly.
But unlike David, I know.
You know that
NC has won.
Are you part of the teams that were infiltrating, quote unquote, the IBC to know?
Well, I am giving it the benefit of the doubt because, I mean, this is politics. There are factors on the ground that could play either way. My prediction was that ODM would take that, but obviously there are very serious ground factors, including the recent skirmishes between the two, between Mudavadi's camp, or Mudavadi and basically Raila Odinga, about who should endorse who, and those very, very sharp exchanges could have some serious impact on the ground. I mean, people can say we're going to stick with our own.
Yeah.
And people in Western or Matungu could say, no, we can't let down our son against these attacks, and we must now build him because we want him to go for the presidency. So there's a likelihood Nabulindo could actually win because he's fresh and also because of the political dynamics.
Yeah.
But Were has the upper hand because of being an old hand in it, and the machinery, as I said, of Oparanya, which is backing him. But again, the turnout issues, the political violence we've seen there could determine actually ultimately who wins this seat.
And yet you've talked about Raila trying to still defend his territory, as being able to get into the western region and get votes for himself. Ruto is trying to do the same as well. When you talk about the Kakamega governor, we haven't seen him in the matrix of the Luya leaders, quote unquote, as I like to call them, a Mulembe nation. So is he looking now, as he gets out of office, leaves office, to also establish himself and edge out the likes of Mudavadi and come with a voice of saying, I delivered this, and so forget the likes of Mudavadi and Mutangula who have been here?
Oparanya's game plan, I think, is to go along the lines of Raila Odinga. Wherever Raila is paving the way, those are the people he is walking with, whatever journey he's making. If there are any benefits that accrue from his political exploits or adventures, those are the beneficiaries. And also those are the people who are giving him the toehold in all those places he's going. If you look at Coast, if you look at Western. In Western particularly, let's face it, Oparanya is very solid in Kakamega, but he is not a major player in the other counties, in Bungoma, in Busia, or Vihiga. And in terms of somebody who has a solid backing, in fact, among all these politicians, whether it's Mudavadi, Wetangula, or Oparanya, Oparanya would say he commands a little bigger block support from his county than would anybody else. That has been under assault from Hasla, who has been a very regular visitor to both Kakamega and Bungoma.
Yeah.
But Oparanya is still holding together on the ground. And I think ultimately he'll emerge, not to run for presidency, but to be a major plank in whichever formation he'll be part of.
Yeah, and Mark Odingo, there's the other picture, because in, for instance, Matungu, where you have the ANC candidate, you have 3 other political parties backing that candidate. Ford Kenya, that's Wetangula, KANU, Gideon Moi, and Wipers, Kalonzo Musyoka, and the same has played out in Kabuchai. So however this go, what do you think they'd portend for this pulling together or alliance in the making, as some have described it?
I've been rewatching wrestling of late. I think
Wrestling?
Yes, I revived the boy in me. And there is a game they call Rumble, Royal Rumble. In Royal Rumble, at the end of the game, 30 people would have entered the ring, but only one person remains standing. And whenever a strong candidate walks into the ring, the others gang up against him so that they can eliminate him first. Because everybody believes that that is their biggest threat. When you remain with everybody else, you have a 50-50 chance. That is what has happened in Matungu and in Kabuchai. All these guys, the person they wanted to edge out, was Raila. To edge out Raila from Western, then they can remain and do their sibling battles in-house. So that is why you saw Ford Kenya and Ford Kenya supporting ANC in Matungu and ANC supporting Ford Kenya in Kabuchai. Their common enemy at the moment is Raila. And I mean, from the bile and the exchanges we've seen of late in the last couple of days, you can see that each of them wants Raila out. Then now they can sit back and say, Weta, Madividi, Makali's candidate, Dr. Kitui, and Hasla, if he gets an opportunity to get in there. It is everybody's problem right now is to gain ground. And to gain that ground, you must displace someone. That someone in Western Kenya is Raila Odinga, irrespective of which county it is, including the Trans Nzoia, which is really should have been in this side of the equation. But you can see that all these guys want space. And I think they're suffocating under the huge umbrella that Raila has had in Western. And it seems like, especially looking at what the results are looking at in Matungu, it seems that combined, working together, they might actually stand a chance in terms of cutting Raila to size in Western Kenya politics. But it's probably still a long way to go. A
long way to go, as you can see from those provisional results. There are 10 out of 116 polling centers. But I wonder what then, Makali, you would say to the extent of then what this would mean for that alliance, depending on how this goes. If they win, is it to say, clearly this is working, let's go forward? If they are successful in one, lose one, or whichever way the dynamic is this a make or break for them?
It is for the Western leaders. I mean, the two, Wetangula and Madividi. I think it's really critical that they win these seats, because then it will demonstrate that they're beginning to take charge of their home ground. If they lose it, it will have a down effect, especially on any of their, well, the only person aspiring is actually Mudavadi, because Weta is an appendage of Mudavadi's bid. And the relationship they have is essentially of reciprocal in nature. It is they need each other to survive. If you remove Weta from Mudavadi, Weta cannot survive and pursue his national agenda. Similarly, if you remove Weta from Madividi, Madividi also can't move too far because he needs a beacon in Bungoma to pull together what I would call the Bukusu cluster up to Trans Nzoia, which Ford Kenya calls its best. So Mudavadi needs Wetangula in order to present himself as a Western leader, because he does not have any tangible support in Bungoma, as it were. Even if you look at the NASA arrangements they had,
Yeah.
Wetangula was bringing Bungoma purportedly, and Mudavadi was supposed to bring the rest of, I mean, basically Kakamega, because Busia is normally largely with Raila in the past voting patterns.
Right.
So the two of them required to win both Kabuchai and Matungu to move their stature up. If they lose one of them,
Yeah.
it's a major dent.
Then where does that, yeah, sorry, Dr. Mukisa Kutui, who we were talking about earlier, and that in the next 2 months we'll see him having a strong showing. So in those mathematics and the
Yes.
dynamics you have elucidated, where does he come in?
And that's why Mogisa's coming in is a serious threat to that duality of Wetangula and Mudavadi, because Mogisa is coming to stake a claim first to the Bungoma and Trans Nzoia electorate as their son who is aiming high, something that Wetangula has failed to do, or he tried in 2013, but went only as far as Kakamega. And now Mogisa is coming and saying, I'm going all the way, I'll be on the ticket. That is likely to rally the Bungoma cluster that Wetangula represents in Mudavadi's camp. And that is going to be whittled down, because I think, from my assessment, there's going to be some warm reception of it. How he handles it, how he manages it to take it further is a different story.
Yeah.
But if Mogisa makes a serious bid, that will totally undermine Mudavadi's bid, because, after all, as I just said earlier on, Mudavadi does not command general support in Western higher than Raila or William Ruto. So that's the little support that he enjoys, and which he needs to put together, will then further be eroded by the entry of Mogisa Kitui. That's why, and depends also on who Mogisa Kitui is going to work with. And I see him working closely with Oparanya, because Oparanya and Madividi have a certain ambivalent relationship, and especially because Oparanya is with Raila. Oparanya will be undermining Mudavadi's bid for presidency, which could open an inroad for Mogisa to come into Kakamega and the better part of Western.
And I'll have you react to that, Makodingo. Let's have a look at what you have playing out in Matungu by-election, the results coming in there. ANC's Nabulindo, 618, 1,125. David Were of ODM, 10. Polling centers reporting so far. Alex Lanya, UDA 683, Bernard Wakoli 885, just 10 at 10:47 p.m. I'm quite surprised at how they are
slow.
So slow, because you both have alluded to this, although Makodingo appears to really...
he's got the figures already.
He's
I don't
got
know
the
if he got
figures.
them.
No, the election ended at, what time the election ended? 5 or 6?
5 p.m.
I'm pretty sure by 7, people knew the results.
Yes.
This is just IBC with their systems, reminding us once again that
even in such a small election,
even in such a small election, they really can't put their act together. And that is a concern. We've had concerns.
After the day that we've had, you'd imagine...
I mean, you'd imagine that they would be the ones who actually pull through and settle this thing. Yeah. But the people who are on the ground know. I mean, election...
They have their own tallying centers.
They are done at the polling station, so people know the results.
Yeah.
I think IBC needs to up their game. Really, this is a poor indicator, especially given that it's a single ballot election. It's a poor indicator of things to come, because I'm wondering if this is how they're doing, what happens in 3 months, 4 months, 3 months actually, when we do BBI, and it's an entire country, 44,800 polling stations. How then that the system work? Yeah. So it's a concern. IBC has always been a concern. I think it's going to be a major concern in 2022 as well, unless the politicals come to an agreement in terms of who they want in the institution, and a bit of reform is done. Yeah.
Your thoughts on the chances of Dr. Mogisa and what David had to say?
The fact that Mogisa is running for president, I agree with him to some extent. The fact that he's running for president and Weta doesn't seem to be running for president, leaves Bukusu Nation, the Bukusu Nation, quite open for trade. Mogisa is not the most liked Bukusu leader ever to have lived. He lost Kimilili badly the last time he ran, mostly because he's perceived to be an ivory tower kind of politician. Yeah, I mean, the guy will tell you that the best argument against democracy is a 5-minute discussion with a local voter, and therefore it looks elite, and people do not like elite. The voters just don't like elite people. Even if you are wealthy, they will want to wish that you look like them, which is why Haslawan is making the inroads he's making. That the fact that he's a multi-billionaire, he can sell you a wheelbarrow, and you are happy to have gotten the bargain. Mukisa will face that problem.
But does he look like them now? He may give them the wheelbarrow, but it's not that he pushes it around.
The human
connection,
the human mind and the human connection. What you're giving me, why do you think we vote for politicians for giving us 50 bob? Because you know you're never going to see this guy again. Eh? He's gone for 5 years. So if he's giving you 100 bob or 500 bob today, you're like, what the heck? Let me give him my vote. The problem Mukisa is finding is a crowded field, because Raila and Madividi are significant players in Western politics. Yeah, Raila has lost a bit of ground over the years in Bungoma and a bit of Trans Nzoia to the Ford Kenya likes of politicians. But in Bungoma, I'm pretty sure Wangamati is even more popular than...
You mentioned Raila. I wanted to actually explore a certain angle with both of you as you respond to that. But he's currently in the coast region, where we saw Kingi yesterday, today Joho, talking about, you go it alone and we will try to seek our way to Kutane Mbele. And then right now NASA also falling apart. You have the three coming together against him. Is this a Raila that's starting to lose ground, that you're having himself slowly, almost, some would argue, isolated, that those who stood with him for so long are saying, we want to give this a chance, we want to go it ourselves, and then you see him taking that photo up of him with Kivuda Kibwana and Dr. Mukisa, perhaps saying, Mukiniacha, I could find others. Briefly, your thoughts as we come to Makali.
The former Prime Minister is in a new territory. Yeah, he's always been the one that rallies the rest of the country against the front runners or the state-sponsored candidates. For the first time, at least his supporters go around saying he has deep state. I don't know what that is.
Including his elder brother.
Yes, that he has deep state. But also, he finds himself in a very unique situation where he's almost an incumbent. Yeah? And all these guys are peeling off from him because they imagine, and it's the same thing I would advise them to do, they will imagine that the incumbency would actually peel off quite a bit of his support, because as you know, over the years, he's perfected grievance politics. Yeah, so the people who feel aggrieved, the ones who feel marginalized, the coast, Western, Luo Nyanza, for obvious reasons, even parts of Northern Kenya, for a very long time, have rallied behind him because he was the candidate that was bringing a revolution. Yeah, now he's been part and parcel, unofficially, of the Jubilee administration for a year, 2 years now, and another 18 months might actually be a long time. So if you've watched him, he's begun to dissociate himself from Jubilee, so-called Jubilee failures, but somehow attribute them to DP, yeah, as a way to, to fight the hustler narrative and DP and everything. But it's a point of concern. If I was asked, especially in Western, because Western has been such a bedrock, outside of Luo Nyanza, Western and Coast have been bedrocks. Yeah, I don't think there's a threat in Coast other than Kwale. Kwale is a bit tricky, but I don't think the rest of Coast is a threat, even if Amason Kingi does whatever it is that he's doing. But if I was in his camp and I was in his team, I would be concerned.
David?
First of all, let me just point out something about what Makolingo said with regard to Dr. Kitui. The loss that Dr. Kitui suffered to Dr. Kiseli in 2007, 2007, had many reasons. First, Ford Kenya was in his area at that time. The party called Ford Kenya was in alliance with
PNU.
The PNU. There were other factors in Western. Western was not with PNU, principally. So those dynamics of the wind and the wave at that time did him in. In 2013, when he tried to run now for Senate, again, he was backing Musalia Mudavadi, and you know how his bid was bogged down by claims of project. The UDF never took off. Eventually, anything that had to do with the Musalia, and he was backed by both Eugene Wamalwa and Mohisa Kituyu as his principals. They never sailed through, although they got Mudavadi some votes from Bungoma.
Yes.
So the dynamics of how and where and why Mohisa lost are never looked at in their context properly.
Okay.
Because he is a politician who had been MP for 15 years. How does it just become now that he's elite? And that time he won 3 consecutive times, was never elite. And anybody who followed the young tax politics, Mohisa is one of those guys who used to dance up to and warm up crowds with Otieno Kajwang. So all these assumptions are totally, misplaced, because wait until he goes to the ground and see the character of the person. That is one thing. And so I think there's going to be a lot of impact he's going to have on the ground, because he's going to stoke a regional ethnic renaissance or hopes of the Bukusu people, whose hopes were dropped in 1987 after Amala Kijana ran for president. He's the last person who ran for president. Okay. So all these factors are going to come together, and it's going to be a very serious contest that is going to come. I'm saying let's review this after 2 months, depending on how he manages it. But finally and briefly, on the matter of Raila. It's true. I mean, Raila's potency as a candidate has always been determined by a couple of factors. One, the allies he assembles. He's never a one-man show, but he's normally the driving force. And so he normally has Western because he gets the Western leadership with him. He has Ukambani when he gets Kalonzo with him. And he has Coast when he gets the principals there. So if these people break off, or these areas that are infiltrated or taken off him by other people, then he also goes down. And that's what is happening right now. Because with the sort of new thinking in Western, that they need their own person, the Coastals thinking that we need our own party, or we also must go for the top. You know, Kalonzo basically taking his own walk together in this other alliance means he's very vulnerable. And that's what makes his candidature for 2022 very dicey. Yeah. And he has to rethink it. And he has to rethink it. And we can put those graphics back perhaps on air, what is happening in London ward by-election earlier today. So those are the results that are coming in. Opening that gap is UDA. Anthony Nzuki, 1,096, 712 is for Jubilee's Francis Njoroge. Largely a two-horse race, 19 stations reporting there. So this is pretty much done and dusted, London. And this is huge, Makodingo. This is where Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto came together, and they said we're reconciling the country after 2007 election. They're coming together to reconcile the country, to work as one with a red hat. I remember covering that at the grounds in Nakuru. What are they called? Afraha, yes, stadium. And you know, it was a wave of blue and red, and they exchanged the caps, said we're working together, we're reconciling. And then years later, here we are. And pretty much him trying now to show himself as the one who can take on his boss, and successfully so, at least with that ward election.
Yeah, but London ward is interesting. First, all the candidates were Kikuyu. The two major candidates were Kikuyu. So there wasn't an ethnic angle, really. It
Cosmopolitan area, yeah, and the Kikuyus are the majority, I understand.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is local, as local politics as they get.
And yet with huge...
Yeah, but, yes. I mean, the thing is, the deputy president is still active in politics and has a future in politics. So, obviously... politicians who are looking forward to the future in a region that is a Jubilee stronghold, a lot of them would rather go with him. Okay. Because the president is retiring. So
let's take the conversation forward. As we watch those numbers come in, we'll keep putting them up. So the vice chair was here last week, Jubilee Party, and said loading the eviction of the deputy president from the mansion in Karen. I understand there's, yes, before we go to that, just news coming in, Kabuchai by-election. So the last time we were looking at this was, I think, 17, was it? So and they've started picking up pace, perhaps, 36 polling stations. So you have the Ford Kenya candidate opening up, again, that gap, 5,478, and ODM at 2,248. But still, maybe opening up the gap now, but you have quite the way to go, or 90-something, if my mathematics is not wrong, with 80-something polling centers to go. So it's going to be a long night. This looks like it's going to take the whole night.
That's impressive.
For us here, but no.
I mean, obviously, you know, I think the trend might be like that up to the end.
You think Ford K will hold?
It's not going to change.
Ford Kenya is that Ford Kenya is going to take that. There are factors which favor Majimbo Kalasinga, my friend, and Evans Kakai. You know, these are borrowed candidates, eh? They're on loan from Jubilee. I mean, all of them were in Jubilee last, and then, of course, Ford Kenya just looked around for who is the more suitable candidate and popular on the ground and grabbed him.
And I noticed something during the campaigns when they were speaking. The MCAs said they are all with Ford Kenya and with Wetangula, and they in fact challenged the MPs from the region who again have won Jubilee but have gone to UDA, and said this is also an election pitting the MCAs in that region with the MPs to say who really understands the ground, and clearly then if it holds, they'll be vindicated.
Yeah, Wetangula doesn't have any MP supporting him or in his camp, but he has MCS, you know, with him. He commands a very interesting mix of support there.
Yeah.
But this seat for him is also a make or break one, because first it is his own constituency where he's born. Two, the last member of parliament, of course, Mukwe, was from his party. He was his close friend. But the significance of it is that if he succeeds to win this, he will restore his reputation and standing as the leader of Ford Kenya, which was disputed by the attempted coup, he says, but you know, a change of leadership there that didn't go through. And the fact that that faction has not played any significant role in this election, basically surrendered the territory to Wetangula to reestablish himself.
Yeah.
And he's doing that almost, I'm certain, because of the sympathy vote, and people said, you know, he's our own, this is our own constituency. Even though Kakai is very strong in his own respect, the fact that he's being supported by a principal, presumably, who is external to Bungoma politics, has given this election a local dimension of patriotism.
All right, so as we wrap up, we have about 2 minutes to go. So to the question I think I was getting at earlier, with all of this dynamic of the key political players and the developments in Jubilee, how do you see it playing out eventually with the tension that has been there for a long time, the president and deputy, now the vice chair of the party saying we're going to impeach him?
I don't think he's going to be impeached. I think he will serve his full term until 2022. It's not in Jubilee's interest to impeach him anyway. I mean,
then why are they going about saying it?
No, I mean, there's also political braggadocio, that you attack your opponent with. However, I think for DP, these by-elections are important. Even the one in Kibra, he was never going to win. But it allowed him an opportunity to actually go to the ground and meet people. Because also, I mean, in a lot of these areas, opposition areas, Jubilee didn't really campaign much in 2017 and even in 2013. DP has done these inroads into Western now, post-2017. And I think someone did account, he's done probably over 330 visits to Western Kenya. And we saw him in a rally the other day complaining that they only call him when they want a bus or they want a church built. But when votes come, then they don't give him. And clearly, he's been vindicated. Now, hopefully, he will be spending his money much more smartly in places where it can bring a result. But it will be interesting to look at the dynamics going. I think the relationship is completely broken. It's one of those, they say, is reconcilable. But he's on his own. I wish he was man enough. I wish he was man enough
to do it,
to walk out. Yeah.
He might just surprise people.
Bishi was man enough to walk out of this thing and say,
Well,
yeah, and leave all Jubilee problems and all Kenya's problems in the hands of the president and Raila Odinga.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see him doing that. The honorable thing to do would actually have been, as Kodingo says, to quit, saying that there are issues with his boss and they're not reconciling. But the consideration is if he leaves, we know out goes the state privileges and protections and other things that he enjoys, which give him the latitude to move around and do some of the things he's doing. I mean, he uses a bit of personal resources, but the infrastructure that he has also is state. If you are alienated from that system, you become, he'll be slowed down, he won't do so many things. Two, I think it's also in his interest to keep going in this manner because it allows him access to government information, intelligence, and the clout that he enjoys. Otherwise, once he's out there, he'll face tear gas.
the same day.
Yeah, now they can't tear gas him, they can tear gas his people, but going after him would be too abrasive.
Yeah.
So he's going to enjoy that cover for a long time.
Okay.
And two, there's not going to be any serious move to impeach him because one, they won't have the numbers in Parliament. He has quite a bit of numbers that can sabotage that move. And it could end up with a very nasty fight, even that impeachment itself, where we say, you expose me, I expose you. I mean, everybody in this government is vulnerable.
All right, David Makali, Washington Makadingo, asanteni sana for being with us this evening, by-election special and our Crossfire program. It has been a pleasure to have your company as well at home. Thank you for watching. Before we leave, let's do one more quick look around at what we have happening in Matungu is where we begin, that by-election. And remember, as I was saying earlier, Matungu constituency is in Kakamega County, and so you have ANC Nabulindo 709, and this is 812. I think this is an earlier board actually, perhaps. We revised that, didn't we? Yeah, we had some more updated. It's not a new one. We had a 36, so this is an old board. So we'll keep refreshing those and bring them updates to you as we get them. So Matungu by-elections, one to watch, ODM, ANC and UDA there, as well as Kabuchai by-election. You have UDA Ford Kenya, that's in Bungoma County, and London Ward, where some are already calling it for UDA's candidate, Anthony Nzuki Wachira, against Francis Njoroge's, who's a Jubilee Party candidate. And there are more of those. So 20 out of 29. So just 9 polling centers to go, and that's significant a lead, unless there's what...
By the way, Jubilee has won a seat in Eldoret. Eh?
Huh?
Jubilee has won a by-election in Eldoret. Eh?
Which one?
Yeah, that was
Uruma Ward. Eh?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that was almost given.
And that is the CBD of Eldoret. Uruma Ward is CBD of Eldoret.
Okay, so there's this update as well.
But you know the
Uruma
reason
Ward.
why? I mean, the
Chomba
composition,
was,
that was by Chomba, and its central constituency and the ethnic composition also was in favor of...
yeah, but Jubilee will sing it.
But importantly, Mandago was backing that candidate. He didn't go with Uda.
No, Chomba was actually very popular. The late husband, was actually very popular. He's been elected there forever.
And this analysis will continue in coming days. By morning, we'll see whether some of those ones that look like they have a long way to go, they'll have made some headway. We'll keep it. We'll keep following that and keep you updated. Let's go to Patrick Amimo as we wrap up, who's in Matungu constituency. Amimo, what is happening there? The vote count appears to be very slow.
The tallying process began at around 9:30 p.m. That's when the results started trickling in at the tallying center here. And so far, we've done 13 polling stations out of 116, representing 3,366 valid votes. This particular constituency has 116 polling stations with a registered voter base of 62,386. So far, we're seeing that it's turning out to be a 3-horse race as it has been predicted. And from the results that have been released here so far, David Were of ODM is leading with 1,309 votes from 13 polling stations. He's followed closely by UDA candidate Alex Lanya with 962 votes. Then on third position is ANC candidate Peter Oscar Nabolindo, who is having 812 votes. These are just 3,366 votes, representing less than almost about 5% of the votes cast so far. So it's something that we'll be waiting to see as the results trickle in throughout the night, and be there to announce the winner when the returning officer makes that particular decision. So far, I've not seen any candidates in this hall. Probably they're also taking relaxing, or because it's been a long day and full of activities. So I think they're also having a rest before they can check into later in the night to see how the results have been ongoing. It's been a tedious exercise and also taxing, and that's why you see even those presiding officers, officials, even the security agencies has been overwhelmed by the work at hand. So that is the situation as it is, but we'll be here to give you on hand.
Thank you so much, Senior Political Reporter Patrick Amemo. A strenuous, very long day it has been for him and all our teams. And as we wrap up this evening, a special thanks to all our teams covering these by-elections. It was a very early start and they're still going, but you can stay with us throughout the night. We'll still be relaying some of these results as they develop. And of course, more updates continue with the morning team, Morning Express analysis and what all of this portends going forward. So on behalf of the team, asanteni sana for watching. My name is Sophia Wanuna. Have a good night. We'll see you next time.